Hello, everybody, and welcome to Positive Fandom. I'm your host, and today we have with us Lorena Creole. Lorena, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great and very excited about our topic for this video.
Absolutely, Lorena. All the time that I've met you, we've been talking about this anticipated game called Hogwarts Legacy. And, like so many games, I think for quite some time, Lorena, there's been this kind of dry spell in games of just getting something that we could have this level of fun and joy playing. Lorena, I remember the days when there would be just lists of cool games coming out and you had to choose one and you'd say, gee, I kind of want to play all these games. And those days we're not in those days anymore. So I wasn't quite sure. I've never doubted anything from this IP. I've never had a doubt of it, but I just didn't
Mhm.
know what it would be. And I've just been having so much fun with this game. Lorena, you also are playing this game.
Yes.
You and I started the game. We have early access, so we've been playing the game. We've been sharing it with our
Mhm.
subscribers. We've been having fun with the game. There are a lot of different things in the game that we naturally would expect as gamers, with certain things that we want. And to be honest with you, I'm not even past level 1 yet, and the game has actually exceeded a lot of my expectations. What's on your mind? Let's talk some Hogwarts Legacy. What's on your mind as you're playing this game, even thinking about the game, knowing the fun that's ahead in this game that's to come? What's on your mind about the game?
There's so many things. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. One, when am I going to get to go to the Forbidden Forest? Number one, even though it's forbidden. Uh, I'm just looking forward to that feeling that we observed in the movies of, you know, Harry and Hermione, you know, and Ron getting to be students. It's like feeling like you're a student, at Hogwarts. So getting to take these classes where, I mean, like, I got excited when it's like, oh, go to defense against the dark arts. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go, let's go and let's go and let's do this. Just exploring the regions, outside, the shops, talking to people, just soaking up this gorgeous, and I do mean gorgeous because I keep stopping and looking around every time I play, of just the surroundings, not just the surroundings inside, inside the buildings as well. I'm just blown away by the amount of detail. So much detail that when I ran into, quote unquote, ran into a student who tells me that she found a portrait with no one in it, immediately I knew that was something bad because we all know from the movies the portraits do not really leave where they are, and if they're not there, then something's going on. So I'm intrigued. So now I've been like running around the castle looking, for portraits. I don't have people in. I'm just looking forward to being immersed in this world, immersed in this time period, which is very, very different from what we're used to. So there's just so much, and of course, learning spells and stuff like that. So you can get to, you know, mess people up, or goblins or trolls or things like that.
Well, it's interesting because, this is not a spoiler stream, but immediately once you get into the game, you have quite a bit of action, adventure, intrigue. It certainly does heighten your level of expectation as a student at the school, and certainly the game feels very familiar because these are all the places that we've either been reading about, watching in the films, talking about, or even if it's not shown in the film, but it's described in the book or described by a student as you just did. We
Mhm.
are familiar with so many elements in
Yes.
this game that it becomes this completely, maybe one of the most immersive games I've ever played. And I knew it was going to be good, Lorena, but I had no idea it was going to be this good. I am really kind of blown away by how much fun it is to play, to just walk around, as you said, to look at the surroundings, to see the other students,
Mhm.
um, to hear what's going on in Hogwarts, even years ago, as you hear ghosts talk about what happened in the 1400s, or you make these discoveries that constantly inform you and let you know why this statue is here, or what this corridor represents, or what this symbol means. And you get that information. It all goes in a book, so it takes your notes for you.
Mhm.
And you are well informed of pretty much everything. There's a lot going on. Boy, there's a lot going on at this school, Lorena. I mean,
There are tons going on at the school, almost to the point where I don't even like to be interrupted by a student. Like when you see the shield over their head, you're just like, do I really want to go over there? Because I got this other thing that that I need to that I need to do.
absolutely. I think that you're constantly engaged, and you don't have to get constantly engaged, as you've just said. If
Hmm.
you're not doing that right now, or you want to leave that till later, or whatever it is, there's just this constant, and it's very subtle. It's very subtle. It's not sort of in your face. The characters, even when you're in the hallways, they
Hmm.
don't get in your way. There, it's a. I also am in completely love that they gave us. You can either follow the map. Let's say there's a map, and the map will say, "Okay, make a right turn or left turn." Let's say, hypothetically speaking, but there's also this ribbon, Lorena, that I love using. I don't know if you've used it, but you tap on it, it creates like this ribbon that floats around, and you don't have to look at the map. You can just kind of look at the ribbon and just go down the corridors, and it's completely, it's like an enchantment almost. And I think it adds to some of the mysticism of the game, because we know that Hogwarts is a very special place. And even I'm learning about the history of Hogwarts in a way that I wasn't expecting to, but I'm very
Hmm.
curious about. And I think that they've, outdid themselves in so many ways in saturating, this game with very important information. As a student, you'd want to know these things about your school, but you may need to know this in future activities at the school. I think it's certainly very interesting. The professors are so interesting. Just the thought that has been put into this is just so unbelievably packed with things that it feels like a treasure every time you uncover something. What are some of the things that surprised you so far, Lorena, in the game?
Oh my gosh, surprises. Um, wow. Let's see. Well, one, and I will be Slytherin specific on this one. When you're in the Slytherin common area in that particular wing of the castle, when you're walking down the pathways, there is this patina on it, which is like what happens to bronze statues after they've been weathered and everything like that. And I'm just like, I just thought that was just a freaking cool um just a cool touch to put on there. Other interactive things you can play with, the globe. I always got to freaking spin it.
Yes.
So I gotta run over there and like spin it. I thought that was cool. In the introductory part where you're walking around the ruins, of course, I accidentally broke a vase. I thought that was actually kind of funny. That happened because it gave you a feel like you were in the ruins. I'm just really surprised at just kind of just like the mysticism that they've kept in this game. Impressed about how they recreated Gringotts. That whole scene where you're going down into the vault in
Yes.
Gringotts.
Oh,
That is literally the same thing that happens in Escape from Gringotts, the attraction. That's at the
really?
Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Yes. So the simple fact with that, of course, you're looking in one direction, but in the game, you can actually change your perspective to look around, but that whole thing is the same. Even the spells with the direction that it goes in, same direction that it is at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So I was very surprised that they made those things seamless, because if you haven't been, you're not really you're not really going to pay that much attention, but if you have been, you'll start to notice all of these things that are very, very similar. Even the three broomsticks, how that whole place is set up with the chairs that never quite seem to be have the same chairs all over the place. It's the same. It's just the same atmosphere. Uh, Other things that surprise me, besides how much of a time suck that character creator is, you could spend hours
Yes.
in that, and I was just so impressed by the number of faces that you could make up with that. Um, the side quests, I love it. I'm obsessed with getting field guide pages. Anytime I hear something that sounds like a page, I'm immediately trying to do Accio to get,
Yes,
to,
yes.
to get it. Wow, there's just a ton. There's a ton. It just feels good to play this game. The immersion is so good. Another thing about the immersion, the tapestries that you will see around Hogwarts, same tapestries they have in Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at the
What?
Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I
Yes.
didn't know.
Looking at these tapestries, I'm like, why do I know what these look like? The defense against the dark arts room, same recreation. Same recreation. So even if you haven't been, the immersion is nuts. It's nuts, from the shading to how your feet sound on the floorboards as opposed to on the granite, as opposed to on the grass when you're outside. And of course, there's the cats that you can pet too. I thought that was cool. I thought that was
It
cool. I had to do that.
it is really just so well done. Something that I think that they have down perfectly is the lighting. Like this is one of
Yes.
the most perfectly well lit natural light, whether it's natural light, whether it's indoors, whether you're using Lumos,
Hmm.
regardless of what it is, they seem to have perfected the light, and so it feels incredibly natural. The environment feels very
Hmm.
natural. It doesn't feel like virtual reality at all. This feels very,
No.
I from what I understand, they used a special game engine to create it,
Yes.
and
Unreal Engine, actually Unreal Engine 5, which is created by Epic Games, aka, yes, the company behind Fortnite. Yes.
yes, and that does explain a lot. I think that they were very careful, especially in some very specific details, let's say, of the characters. They look like real people. Um, I do
Yes.
really enjoy that. I feel it feels like a real school. It does feel like the students are concentrating on their work a lot. They don't have time to do anything else because they're given these lists of things that they have to do, just like you are as a character, and
Mhm.
you need to complete these things in order to go on in your journey and to learn. And I think that's very important. The spells are very similar to the games, right, Lorena, that we've played that are Harry
Yes.
Potter based games. These are the same spells that we know. They don't feel like it's something we've never heard of before. They are quite familiar and very natural and make sense in a lot of cases. There is also and something, this is the first time, and of course, you and I have spoken about this, the fact that it is an open world game, and
Mhm.
having that open world, just knowing it's there, Lorena, knowing that we can go back in there as many times as we want to. is a pleasure just to even think about it. I played it on a PS5, and I don't even want to say it because then like I have to knock on wood. I have absolutely no problems with this game whatsoever, which is something that I've only really experienced in maybe two other games. I
Mhm,
would always wait until the glitches were figured out and then get the game. In this particular case, they were ready. They were ready. There was no hesitation. I don't know whether the game's been pushed back, but let's just say for the release date that you and I
mhm,
got the early release, it was 100% ready to go out of the box. We didn't get out of the box, but ready to go game that doesn't have any issues. And it's like a breath of fresh air to get a release like this, a major release, a
mhm,
worldwide release, because there were people all over the planet who were waiting for this release.
mhm,
And to see it this be kind of be delivered so smoothly. Now, I don't know if anybody you you and I are not playing on Steam, right? So,
right.
from what I understand, they've broken huge records with it, but or will when it comes out. I don't know what date that's going to come out, but um, I think that the way that they are doing this tiered way of releasing is going to work to their advantage. I think that people are going to first of all, there's no way that anybody can have the same game play, because with
Mhm,
the five different levels of difficulty and the desire to do different quests depending upon what you like to do. I don't know how many options it could be. It's probably, hundreds of thousands of options in the outcome of what happens. So, even the answers that you can give, the choices that you can give, it reminds me a lot of Telltale games, the Walking Dead games, where it was kind of like the decisions you made in the beginning of the game could possibly affect your gameplay later on. And, I thought that was very interesting. You can be snarky if you want to be snarky, you can do
mhm.
different
Yeah.
things in there. But there are a lot of expectations for a game like this, because we know that things had to have a certain visual look, and it wasn't the kind of thing that they could, sort of do halfway. It was
Right.
all way. They had to be all in. It had to be all in, and
Mhm,
this is for me one of the most all in games I've ever played. I think that the level of accuracy and thought, even the voiceovers, Lorena, the voiceovers, and we're going to talk about the actors in this game and the voiceovers and what happens here, and the level and the quality of that is like watching a movie.
mhm. Absolutely. Ugh, it just is. You just get this feeling that you're in the movie. It's so perfectly rendered. To go back to a little bit with platforming, because I'm on the PC.
Yes.
I will say that there are a few performance issues,
Mm.
not huge. There's a couple, like kind of like a couple of things that you see. I noticed that with the one where I had to use like the dummy to cast spells and stuff on, I was pressing the correct sequence, but it didn't recognize it and kept saying that I was missing it. And then somehow at the end said that I did all of them correctly. And I'm just like, that didn't that didn't quite seem right. So that may have been like a minor glitch, because it looks like they're pushing out PC like upgrade builds like every day,
Oh,
or
are
probably
they?
incrementally throughout the day. I've just been noticing the build number every time that I go onto the PC. There's some hesitation, a little bit with the controller. I'm using the mouse, and I like increase the sensitivity a little bit to kind of see what was going on, but it seems a little clunky, not a lot, but you can just tell kind of like the difference. I say like case in point, um, not the same thing, but just say it's a different online game. With Disney Dreamlight Valley, I don't seem to have a problem with the mouse being recognized when I'm trying to pan around and move or whatever. With this game, it's a little bit slower. So I'm guessing that that's just some more patches that they have to push and upgrade. And that's kind of like what I found out from other people on the PC. It's not, it runs fine. There's just kind of like these little minor things.
Okay, that's good to know, and I'm sure people will want to know that going forward, that those things obviously will be updated. And I have no,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that they are like, "There's what? We're on it." Like it's not sort of like it's not like, well, my head is floating over here and my body's floating over here. And
No, yeah, it's just small things like, okay,
yeah,
I'm running, but it's like when I'm trying to, because these staircases, and that's what made me notice. If I was just running straight, like when you have to run from Hogwarts to Hogsmeade,
mhm.
I didn't pay any attention because we're just running around doing whatever. But when you're in Hogwarts and you have to go like spiral staircases and go around their staircases, that's when you start to notice that you aren't able to make like that sharp turn on a dime, kind of turn to do that. It feels like a little clunky. So that's the only time when you'll really notice that, but it is noticeable. But I'm pretty sure that's something that eventually they're just gonna, they'll patch that, because like I said, every time I load it up and I boot it up, I keep seeing the increase in build number, which means that they're pushing more changes to the code base every time you log in.
Well, that's good to know. And, for everybody who is playing on PC or another platform, just to keep, that in mind going forward. I am playing on the PlayStation 5. I haven't had any problems on the PlayStation 5. It's very smooth. So I'm very happy with it. And, I think that I was just kind of astounded by what they were able to achieve here, because we know that there are just so many layers to make this look like this, that
Hmm.
is just absolutely captivating. And very rarely are you walking through the halls in this game that you don't want to look at something. That's very rare, that you aren't kind of like, oh, wow, look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Or, there's just so much to explore. I can't even imagine. And I had kind of made a comment to some of the people who are viewing our streams and said, do you think the teachers are the ones who are hiding all these treasures in the school for the students? Who's doing all that? Because I'm thoroughly convinced they are doing that, and they're expecting the students to explore and to
Hmm.
use magic and become proficient in magic. And some of the ways that they can do that is to have the students search for hidden things in the castle, and they're learning. That for them it's an adventure. For the teachers, it's a learning possibility and assessment. I mean, it's really like a win-win situation. But I think it's pretty remarkable because, I do like when the teachers will suddenly show up at the end of the quest, maybe not in the game, but, in the movies,
Hmm.
and she'll say, 10 points for Slytherin, or 10 points for such and such for, doing this. And it's really fun to see that application in the live action that we've seen, but also in the game that we're playing, because it just becomes even more of a real event, for you as a student, and learning about these different things. Now, I've speculated, Lorena, about someone who I know is most likely alive. I don't know where the man is.
Hmm.
The only person I know who would be alive now, and that's Nicholas Flamel, who was a wizard, and we saw him in Fantastic Beasts. They allowed him to be shown as a character, and he kind of rescues this. And I know I told you this before. He kind of rescues everybody, or he's been in the library for so long, he hasn't cast an actual spell in front of anybody. And so I guess maybe one of his mages says, "No, you could do it. You still rock. You're like the goat, or something."
Hmm.
And he's like, "This is a major event and I have to show up and do something." But I wondered, how and where he might show up. I don't know if he's going to, but he is alive, and I'm just so fascinated by the idea that he might be there. Of course he may not be, but the level of excitement that I've kind of built up in my mind about a character or somebody that we know from the series being there, and the speculation of it all, it really has heightened the enjoyment of all of this. You know,
Hmm.
this is really one of those journeys where even after you play that game, once you're going to go back in there and play again, because there's going to be things maybe you didn't find or didn't experience or didn't know. I think it's very interesting what they've decided to do here. And it's been so long since I've been able to play a game and enjoy myself like this. In fact, I don't remember the last game, because there is, it's very different from some of the other games that I had been playing prior to this. It's nice to have a game that you can enjoy. Your whole family could play this game,
Mhm.
and it's nice to have a game that you can just enjoy and be in the moment with the game, which is what I tell everybody as I'm playing. I said, there is no goal. I'm just going to enjoy myself. You
Yeah.
just walk around, enjoy Hogwarts, and have fun with this. This is going to be that experience that we all want to have. If they ever made a place where you could stay in Hogwarts, we would expect this level of perfection, and they would match it. I bet you, they would be the ones who would match what we're expecting and what we're seeing. Lorraine,
Mhm.
you got, and I know that, and I know you've been to Hogsmeade already. I
Mhm.
a redwood wand, which is what I've always wanted. And I went with the spirally one because it reminded me of C. elegans. It's like a microscopic worm that they do a lot of genetic testing, or have done a lot of genetic testing with. And the way that it spirals around it reminded me of that creature. And I just thought how funny it was, the level of thought that we're going into about this. And it's very important to get the details right about what you want. What kind of wand, Lorena, did you get in the game?
Well, because I already had my account set up at
Mhm.
wizardingworld.com and I imported everything over,
Yes.
my original wand, believe it's made of beech, has a phoenix core and is, I think, like about 12 and a half inches and very unyielding. So the only change that I made to it is I changed it from like the beechwood color to a white birch color.
Mm.
So I was given the option to change my wand if I wanted to. I did not, because I like the phoenix stuff, phoenix core, because the phoenix is very, very particular about giving away, we'll say, giving away their feathers for wands. So it's extremely unique, and of course the wand is very unyielding in a way, with it's very stubborn, like me. So so that's the only thing that I did, is that I changed the color, and I love how it looks. It looks very, very distinctive. So if you import your profile over from Wizarding World and you decide, hey, I want to change it, you can go ahead and change it in the game.
Yeah, that's very good to know, everybody who is watching this. It's so important to realize that this entire franchise wants things to be across the board the same. They want you to have that, complete and enjoyable experience. And they've done everything they can in the game to give you that. Um,
Hmm.
and I think, being able to connect your account is a perfect example of that, Lorena, of
Right.
wanting that continuity across the board, so that you're not penalized because you created it on something else. The game, it's like you can't incorporate that. They didn't do that. They decided to say, no, if you want to, you can include that, if you're already on your journey. And I think it's kind of important. I think it's going to help to kind of maintain and retain people. And then, of course, Lorena, the one thing that I always was thinking about, and some of the viewers were talking about, can you imagine what it's going to be like for the kids who discover this game for the first time, Lorena? Just, this is such a special game. You and I both played Harry Potter games, but they didn't
Hmm.
look like this, Lorena, not by a long shot.
No.
They were still very good games, but this might be the elite version of, as far as I'm concerned, the game, and giving us something that is completely different, but warranted at this stage in the game, at 20
Hmm.
years, 25 years down the line, after this IP has been created. This is the level of expertise we're expecting, and we're getting it. And so this is it's just so incredible. Lorena, there's been speculation about, because of the success, um, and I think people make a lot of good points about this, about there possibly being even, we've gotten the movies, but even a television series based on
Mhm.
Hogwarts legacy, on so many the potential for what's happening right now with the popularity of the game, with the interest in the game. And, I don't take poll, like, I don't think there's a poll on how many kids play the game, but Lorena, you and I both know that there must be, when it has its full release, let's say
Mhm.
in the summertime, children are going to be flocking to this. This is going to be, through the roof gameplay time. If there was a measurement of it, this would be the game that would, break all of the records, I think, Lorena. I'm so excited for this new generation that's going to discover, Harry Potter through this. And you and I talked about this, and a lot of people have talked about how, this helped children in, who were not interested in reading, as you and I were
Mhm.
both talking about, and now they're
Right.
interested in that. This is going to get them interested in so many other things as well. Let's say they never even touched the Harry Potter books, or they're still very young, 5 and 6 year olds who are very young, just discovering Harry Potter and the IP for the first time. Lorena, I think that this is going to, push this entire thing to the next level. Now, I'm kind of curious, Lorena, you and I are going to be playing this game for quite some time. This is going to be, you and I are just enjoying this so much, and I think it's very interesting, and we're going to continue to enjoy it. But there are 5 different levels of difficulty, and I chose the
Mhm.
easiest one, which was the story-based one, because
Mhm.
that's how I play. But there are other levels of difficulty, Lorena, and I'm really curious, um, to be honest with you, what they've put in for the players for those levels. I'm so excited for the other gamers who were like, okay, hard, like the max. These
Mhm.
gamers who enjoy that challenge, who enjoy the level of play, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of this. I know it's just the surface, and
Mhm.
that the game is even more in depth and breadth than what I'm experiencing. I'm just even just so, my mind is just can't even fathom what's going on with it. It feels like a living creation to me.
You're right. It really is. If there's just something about real but not real, but still real enough when you're playing this game. And you're right about kids actually getting to play this game, because just for example, the platforms that it's rolling out on, like it rolled out on the PC and the Switch and the PC and the PS5. The PS4 is in April. The Switch is in July. A lot of kids have the Nintendo Switch. And I mean, it's already popular, but I really think that it's going to get super, super, super popular once that release happens. There's just so much. I mean, when you're a kid, you want to be transported into like another world. It's kind of the reason why, like, Final Fantasy, how many people rave about how Final Fantasy looks. Another one, granted it's free to play before you buy all the other things that go into it, Genshin Impact, same
Yes.
thing, open world RPG. There's so much stuff to look at and do that it's just like, I'll be in this darn game for hours and not, and not care. And Hogwarts Legacy is exactly the same. As a matter of fact, we're talking about this in the Dark Council when I was explaining about the game. You don't have to read the books
No.
in order to enjoy this. There isn't lore that you have to catch up on, because this is a different time period. It's a prequel. There's different situations and different people that are there. Hogwarts is not the same as it is in the movies. It's different, yet still the same. I mean, you have the four houses, obviously. You still have that, but things are kind of updated. So you can just get in this game and not worry about, do I have to watch the movies before I have to play the game? No. No, you really don't. And that's the beauty of it. There's some things that you get to see that you didn't see in the movies, like case in point. Again, I'm gonna be a little biased here. Again, Slytherin Common Room. The fact that that's at the level of a darn dungeon, and then when you get in the common room, there's just like all of these just like marine detail. It's basically like being, you know, where those old school fountains and stuff are. It's kind of like that. And then it's underwater. And then I heard something about mermaids because you keep seeing the mermaid
Yes.
sculpture. I'm waiting. I am waiting to get up one day and go there and see a darn mermaid. That's just what I want to see. The stained glass, everything. It's you could spend I don't know how long just looking at stuff, um, checking out things, looking at the moving portraits.
Yes. Yes, I love
That
those. I
and
love
it's
the lute player who I go to the hall and he plays for you.
you got the lute player, you've got, oh my gosh, who is that darn ghost? I don't know, but he likes to make a lot of toilet jokes. Um, he's real annoying, and apparently he likes to snitch on people too. And then I was like I was going up the steps, and these 2 ghosts were, like, arguing with each other, and they're, like, going past me. I'm like, "Okay, that's interesting." And then in one hall, you had, like the armored knights,
Yes.
they do some crazy stuff. I'm just like it makes sense given that it's Hogwarts, but it's still just like, "Okay, I just saw that, okay." It really is the amount of care and detail that went into this game to make you feel like you are there is just astounding.
Yeah, and I think it's so important what you mentioned about not having to know anything about the IP in order to play the game and how important that is. Just even from a game standpoint, just being able to pick up a game and play it, and it does not matter whether you know anything, if you know everything and or you know nothing, it's completely irrelevant into the amount of fun that you're going to have in playing this game. And there are very very few games that you can say about that are connected to such a well-known IP. I think it's just absolutely spectacular what they've done. And I did talk about the voice overacting, which is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. There is no kind of odd jumpiness or the timing and the way that that people say things to you makes sense, but also the way that they administer the music. I think
Mhm,
some of it, if it's not all John Williams or partially John Williams or whatever it is, it's perfectly dispersed and just absolutely enjoyable to listen to what they did by preserving a lot of that um, familiar music and sounds that we're expecting to hear because it is a game in the wizarding world, and I'm glad that they did that. They didn't have to do that, Lorena. They could have come up with something else, but they gave us something that I think we would be expecting to hear, the theme music to a lot of the movies that we've seen. I
mhm,
thought that that was a perfect touch because it does kind of set the tone, and it does, I mean, it's obviously already connected, but it gives an extra connection from the live action to the game that I like.
mhm,
I don't remember. I think they did have that in some of the games that I played, but this feels so different. When I say the Harry Potter games that I played in the past, they did have music, but this feels so incredibly different. The way that it's done and a
mhm.
cinematic style, is so different for me. What about you? How do you feel about those, the audio and the music and all the stuff in this?
The music is, the orchestral music is great, is amazing. I love the score of the music that is played. You're right, it's like I wanna say it's masterful, like John Williams. There's parts of the original Harry Potter music that you can hear, but it's kind of like they've taken a different, approach to it. Everything down to the classical music that is played. I call it the pretentious classical music because it's like the snooty upper crust music that they,
Mhm.
that they play at garden parties and stuff. And I'm like, where the heck is that? And I look, and all you see are just the string instruments playing, by themselves. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the 1800s. I mean, they have that. There's like a phonograph nearby, but not there. But I love how they have the classical music that they'll play that you'll kind of hear. And then in certain parts, there's just orchestral themed, you know, theme type of music. You can tell that they put a lot of love and care into it. The first hint that you get of that type of music is in the intro when you have to explore the ruins of the castle before you even get there. And it's between the animation and the music, it was insane. It was insane. Again, you feel like you're in the movies. It feels like a movie, a cinematic level type of score. They did not half-ass the score at all.
Yeah, I agree, Lorena. I also want to give them a lot of credit for when you do discover things, they give you a written description of what's going on oftentimes. I don't know about you, but for me, I need to see that description of like, what am I looking at and why? Like what's the significance of this? And because of the amount of material that's associated with the IP, there's a rich history to almost everything. So it is nice to be able to make discoveries, many of which I can't make yet because I'm not a certain level, but I'm still getting there. It's nice to make these discoveries and to see those histories and like I said, you collect it in your book, so you always have it.
Mhm.
You always know
Yeah.
where you went and what happened and what it's for. And so that's so important. And they use the other students as a vehicle for learning as well,
Mhm.
which is amazing. Lorena, any last thoughts about this really first few days of Hogwarts Legacy gameplay and any predictions that you may have going forward?
Mm. Well, first of all, let me say I am enjoying this, especially as someone who doesn't like to read the manual at all. I just want to play. I do like that there are those levels of difficulty. I'm running it on story mode right now because it's like I just want to get immersed in the story. I want to get a feel for what's going on. Eventually, I do want to go back and play at a bit of a higher level because I can tell with some of the wizarding duels that I'm just like, that was a little too easy.
Yes.
Not that I mind, but it's just something I've noticed. I'm like, that was a little too easy. I think I want to go back and try it with the difficulty amped up. But I love the fact that you can play that way. I love that fact that you can save different portions of the game. So if you want to go back and do something, like I think where I left off was I'm trying to sneak into the restricted section.
Ooh.
Yeah, and got busted because I'm like, "Where's that thing you do again?" Okay, so it's like, so good. Go back and do that. So I do like that. As for predictions, this game is gonna make a crap ton of money. It's already made. I mean, for how many people have been stream? It's insane. I mean, granted I wasn't into Elden Ring when it came out. I just wasn't back into gaming then. A lot of people were streaming that game. This one, it seems like everybody is streaming it. Everybody is talking about how much they like it. Everyone is blown away from the graphics. When I live streamed it, people kept saying they're just like, I can't believe gorgeous, um, how gorgeous this game looks. So it's gonna make a ton of money. It's gonna make a ton of money with every platform that it is released on. And if there's ever a game of the year nomination, this one more than deserves it. And that's not an understatement at all. It really does deserve it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Lorena. I think that this is the game of the year. And in February, this is the game of the year. We haven't had anything like this. And you're right about the dueling. And I thought this is perfect for if a child was playing it. this might be the level that you would want them to be on, younger children. So
Mhm.
that alone tells you that this playability through the years, through the ages of a child's development, you can play the game 2 years from now and play on the harder level when they're ready for that. And that's what I'm always thinking, that is their mindset for,
Mhm.
the easiest level is thinking that it might be someone, small, or who just is not, as a child, really, pretty much. Because I know
Right.
they're going to be like, 4 and 5 year olds playing this game. I know this. I know that this is what's going to happen with this game.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also, I have a prediction. I have maybe two or three predictions. In some of the gameplay, there's when you get a spell, and I'm sure you've seen it, there's like a directional thing they give you,
Yes. Mhm.
or
Yeah,
and
there's a
I
certain
yeah,
wand pattern. Yeah.
I suspect that at some point, if not this development of the game, we're going to see where we're going to be using wands. I wouldn't put it past them, where we would be doing that, fighting with wands, literally in our living room, so to speak. Which I think would be amazing if they did that. Yes, Lorena, wand at the ready, my dear.
It's got a RFID chip in it.
Yes.
I've seen what it does.
And so I'm suspecting that they're kind of preparing us, because there's no reason to show that. There's no reason to show that.
None, no reason to show that, and in addition, the fact that it's the same pattern that you can physically go and do.
Yes. And so
That's a good call.
I think that they want us, they're going to be giving us more types of experiences with this game. There's going to be tactile things. Obviously, there's going to be VR coming up soon. I don't know how or when, but I think they will do that. And there's, if not this game, the next iteration of the game, this is going to be. I don't know if they're going to make another Hogwarts Legacy game, but from seeing what they've been able to accomplish with Hogwarts Legacy, I'm expecting nothing but the best going forward. This is not where they're going to stop. There's going to
No.
be much more coming down the pike. And
Mhm.
Lorena, I'm assuming another film, maybe not Fantastic Beasts section, but perhaps at the time period of Hogwarts Legacy, Lorena. What do you think?
Wow. If there is a sequel to Hogwarts Legacy, it's gonna be a ways down the line, or while we're waiting for that, and I know this is what I'm waiting for, and a lot of other people are too, we want a DLC that has Quidditch in it.
Yes.
So even if they're not planning on doing a quote unquote sequel, they'll probably drop stuff like that for the PS5 and the PC. This game was so much work that they put into it. I don't know, because I haven't, if I remember correctly, I haven't seen a sequel to a Harry Potter game. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's out of the ordinary, um, but I'm kind of hoping they just add DLCs to it. Because dang it, how can you not have Quidditch? How can you not?
A lot of people while I was playing were, you know, just wishing that Quidditch, they were like, if what would have made it Parker would have been Quidditch. And I have a feeling they're going to add it. I think that they felt perhaps that they needed to first introduce this world and
Mhm.
get a reaction from people. And, the Quidditch pitch is right there, Lorena.
Yeah, you can see it. You're just like, I
They
can
didn't
see
have to
it.
show that.
I can see the pitch. I mean, we
I
don't
mean,
know. Maybe we'll find out in the game why it is that Quidditch got canceled.
yeah, I think, and I'm not going to say anything about that, but what I am going to say is, because it's there, it implies to me that there will be something with Quidditch, let's say, coming up. I think
I
that's
would agree, and this is just me forecasting. Perhaps it has something to do with if and when they introduce multiplayer.
Yes. Yeah. And that makes complete sense. I think that right now, not that they had to put out feelers because we know that this IP was incredibly successful, but I think they wanted to introduce things in degrees.
Hmm.
And there was nothing wrong with that notion. I respect that, and I'm happy with what I've seen so far, Lorena. I do just want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today about your impressions of the Hogwarts Legacy this first week. For me, it's been incredible, and from the way you've been talking as well, I can see it's the same. Lorena, I'm just what a great time to be a Wizarding World fan.
Oh, what a great time to be a Wizarding World fan. What a great time to be a gamer. This is the game that so impressed me. It said, okay, I'm gonna jump into gaming again. So this brought me back in.
Well, thanks again for meeting with me to talk about this game. And guys, you can find the information of how to contact myself and Lorena in the description below. But I did just want to thank all of you who are watching us play this game on our channels and also our reviews and comments about the game. Thank you for watching that. We're going to continue this series of see how the game develops and the impact that it's going to have on the gaming community because it is certainly making an impression, Lorena.
Absolutely, 100%.
All right. Guys, thank you for watching this review that we are giving here. I encourage you to get the game. If you can't, just watch the walkthroughs and enjoy it that way. But certainly do enjoy the game. And no matter where you are in the galaxy, guys, always remember to be kind. Take care, everybody.